In this video, I basically wanted to create a guide primarily for ability scores, like how do they correlate to different aspects of D&D or even Baldur's Gate 3 or even in real life as well, so that it might be easier for people to create their own character. Now I know that there are a lot of great guides out there as well, much more detailed guides out there, but I wanted to create a video just because I think that it will be useful for people who are absolute beginners uh, in Dungeons and Dragons. This is primarily for those people. And if you have already watched some D&D content, you probably will know most of this stuff anyway. So this is for absolute beginners only. Because even though there are multiple different build guides present on the internet, I feel like it's, creating your own custom character and experimenting what works and what doesn't work is actually a huge part of any RPG. At least that's for me personally. And BG3 also gives you the ability to respec very early on in the game. So they're very liberal, with what you create. So let's get to these ability points straight away. So let's go down the list. So strength. Now, first of all, let's see that what things do our ability points influence. So first of all, it will be dependent on your class. As you can see, I have chosen a barbarian, and if you go to abilities, there's a star in front of strength. So this is the game telling you that this is like this skill is the focus for this particular class. So let's say if we go to, I don't know, let's say a paladin. It's still okay, but charisma is also important for paladins as well. Let's go with sorcerer. It should be charisma. Okay, it is charisma. So it already tells you which is the primary ability score that you need to focus on. But what else do they do? So let's just pick a barbarian. Let's pick a fighter. So what does strength mean? Even if you think about strength, what do you imagine? A big guy punching people or using a two-handed great sword or a great axe. That's what strength. If you think about strength, that's what comes to your mind, and that's exactly what it does. It even says what it does. But so, what a modifier you have on your strength? It will add a bonus to, let's say, the weapons that use strength. Like, just think about big, bulky, huge weapons. It's common sense they are going to use strength. Strength also affects your athletic checks. Let's say you want to push someone, you want to lift someone, you want to grab someone. Although there is not such a ability in BG3, but it's good to know. All things that you can relate to strength, you are able to do so. Also, many heavier armors, let's say a heavy armor, they have some strength requirements. So a heavy armor might require a 15 strength, and if you do not possess that amount of strength, you won't be able to wear it. Or you might be able to wear it, but it really won't do you any good. So that's part of strength. It should also affect your jump height as well. Now, and let's say you do want to create a fighter, you could theoretically just take out all the points from strength and then put them into intelligence. That is completely possible, right? The game gives you a lot of freedom, but freedom can also be daunting, and it also allows you to make a lot of mistakes. But again, you can respec early on in the game. Now, this is also one of the builds. You can make this build. Actually, it might be good for if you want to create an Eldritch Knight. But if not, if you just don't want to go that route, it won't really be that helpful for you. So it highly depends on what kind of a character you want to make, what subclasses you want to pick. Just like I said about Eldritch Knight, they need intelligence. There is Arcane Trickster. For rogues, they also need intelligence. But normally, if you choose some other subclass, you won't need it. So, but let's stick to the defaults. As a fighter, you will need strength. And if you don't want to wield, let's go down the list to dexterity. If you don't want to wield, huge two-handed weapons, maces, or wear extremely heavy armor, you can also make a dexterous fighter or a dexterous barbarian. So while strength is more about your brute force, dexterity is more about your reflexes. The precision with which you can control your body, you could say. Your flexibility, your agility. That's what dexterity means or correlates to. So there are first, the major thing dexterity affects is your AC or your armor class, which is extremely important. And what AC basically means is how hard you are to hit. The higher your AC, the harder you are to hit. So generally it's a good thing to at least get up to 14 dexterity, unless you are planning to create a character that's wearing the heaviest armor present in the game, because heavy armor restricts the bonus you get from your dexterity to your AC. In that case, it won't be helpful. So also dexterity affects, it adds the modifier, whatever modifier you may have, to rolls with particular finesse based weapons. You can imagine a knife. You probably won't need a lot of strength to stab somebody with a knife. You might need some dexterity, or a rapier, or a short sword. Though these are light weapons, right? So you don't really need a lot of strength to wield them, but you need dexterity. Also dexterity and wisdom as well, which we will get on to later, are, at least in D&D and I would say even in BG3, two of the most important ability scores for saves. So there are a lot of different actions in the game, different spells in the game that force you to make a save, and most of those require either a dexterity saving throw or a wisdom saving throw. So like a famous fireball, you need a dexterity saving throw to take half damage from a fireball. So that's another one of those. That's just as a single example, but there are a lot of abilities in that relate to dexterity and wisdom. That's why monks are so good. They don't have that much health as a fighter, but they add their wisdom modifier to their AC. And so wisdom and dexterity are basically the primary attribute points for a monk. So if you focus on those two abilities, you are able to basically escape or succeed most of the saving throws, which are a lot regarding these two abilities. Okay, I think that's enough for dexterity. Let's go up to constitution. So I think it's probably the easiest to understand. Constitution implies how healthy and how hard your character is. Obviously that relates to your health, your amount of hit points that you have. It also affects, it also relates to your character's ability to withstand the elements or different conditions, let's say poison or something else. And many spells in the game require concentration, and you need your constitution modifier, whatever it will be, it will be a +2 because of 14, is added to those concentration checks. So if you have a high constitution score, you will be able to reliably concentrate on spells. So you might say that, okay, constitution is not important for my caster like a wizard or a sorcerer, but it actually is. Okay, and That would pretty much be all for constitution. It is extremely important as well. Now, intelligence. Intelligence governs again an extremely important check, which is intelligence. Sorry, not intelligence, investigation. So you will need to roll a lot of investigation checks in D&D or even in DG3, and intelligence governs those checks. And if we try to relate it to real life, intelligence would be the amount of knowledge you have, the amount of things you know about the world regarding different things. That's what intelligence equates to, because knowledge is power, right? And primarily intelligence is mainly used by wizards and nobody else really. And honestly, if you don't want to make an character that has good investigation, it is an alright stat to dump. Although I won't really advise you to dump your stats, but if you have to, it would be fine with intelligence. And what else? I mean, there aren't really that many saves associated with intelligence. I believe primarily with psychic abilities, you need to save using an intelligence save. So, and it's primarily used for wizards only. Now we come to wisdom. Another one of the two most important stats in the game, in my opinion, dexterity and wisdom. Why is that? Because there are again a lot of spells that affect your mind, you could say, and you need to make a wisdom saving throw for these spells, like hold person or charm person. I'm not sure if they require charisma or wisdom, I'm not sure right now, but you get the idea. So, and wisdom also governs your perception, and perception is one of, well, not one of, the probably the most rolled check in any D&D game or even in BG3. So it allows you to find hidden stuff and that hidden secrets, and that's extremely important. So whereas intelligence relates to your know-how, how much knowledge you have crammed inside your head, wisdom relates more to your intuition. You might not know a lot of things, but you are able to piece together things based on it's like an heightened intuition. That's why perception, insight, and even religion is based on wisdom. And wisdom is primarily used by, where is it? I would say druids. Yep, they are used by druids and clerics. These are the two classes that have the primary stat as wisdom, because your spell save DC for all the casters, their spell save DC and their ability to hit their spells are dependent on their primary ability scores. So let's go to charisma next. I think it's also quite easy to understand. Charisma is your ability to, well, talk to a person or influence somebody or intimidate somebody. You know, it's your ability to mingle with other people and manipulate them for your own benefit or for their own benefit even. And the classes that use charisma primarily would be, I believe it's a bard. Let me check. It is bard. Okay, a bard. Paladins also, I believe they do need charisma for some of their spells, but I'm not sure. But sorcerers and warlocks as well use charisma as their primary ability. Okay, I think that should be enough with these things. Now I think I should just give a general default example for which abilities you should focus on for each and every class. Just a default answer. As I said, you can make, you can like, for instance, you can make a barbarian who has maxed out charisma. That is going to be a character, but how effective he will be in the game, that is questionable, right? And it doesn't mean, if you created like a default, you could say, or a basic character, it doesn't really mean that it's a bad choice. Just like creating a complex character doesn't really mean it's a good choice. It really depends on what kind of role you want to play in this game, what kind of character fantasy you want to fulfill in this game, okay? And there are a lot. And then it is also dependent, there are a lots of things like the proficiencies you have, what kind of subclass you want to play, what kinds of weapons you want to use, do you want to stay in melee range or ranged. Also, I forgot one thing, dexterity also affects your ranged based skills. So you need, if you want to play, let's say, a ranger, or you want to play a fighter that primarily uses bows, you need to focus more on dexterity rather than strength. Okay, so as a barbarian, I think it's quite straightforward. You need strength, and as you can see, barbarians add their constitution modifier to their AC when they are not wearing an armor, which you probably shouldn't. So you should also focus on your constitution modifier a little bit. Let's say 14 dexterity is fine. Strength is extremely important. Let's say strength is primarily focus on strength, then on constitution, and then on dexterity. Everything else can be a 10, honestly. So what would an optimal build look like? Let's see. This is not bad, honestly. This is also fine if you want to dump a bit of charisma or intelligence. This is an completely alright build. And perhaps some people don't know this. How do these modifiers actually work, right? So if any ability score is at 10, it doesn't give you a modifier. Let's say it's +0 to whatever you roll. And for every 2, for every multiple of 2 you increase the ability score by, it gives you a +1 modifier. So at 12, this will be add a +1 modifier to anything that uses strength. At 14 it will be +2, at 16 it will be +3, up to 20 when it will be +5. So this is honestly a decent distribution for a barbarian. And bards are a bit more versatile and not so straightforward. Obviously you will want to max out your charisma. You will, what else? You probably won't need strength. And dexterity is 14 is fine. 14 is fine for most classes. What if I put it there? So you will have what? +3 health. So normally how much health will you have? Normally you will have 8 health. But for every 2 points you put in this class, in constitution, it will increase by 1. It's 10, now it's 11. So this is completely fine. You can put, you can't put 2 in a single one, okay. This is fine for a bard as well. I think they may, for a cleric, again it depends. Do you want your cleric to be able to get into melee? If you want that to happen, you will probably need to focus on strength or dexterity, depending upon which weapons you want them to use. And primary stat is wisdom, you always try to max out wisdom. Constitution will also be important, as there are a lot of spells that clerics have that for which they need to keep their concentration, like bless is one of the best spells in the game as far as buffs go. What else? I think most would be quite straightforward. Like, I heard that Warlock is quite a played class, a highly played class. Now again, it's dependent on what kind of a Warlock you want to make. Like, if you want to be a bit more melee based with Pact of the Blade, you might focus on dexterity or strength depending upon what kind of weapons you want to use, right? It's all dependent on these things. And I think you will be able to get the general idea about other classes, honestly. What else is there? You also need to keep in mind, you don't really need to, well, I will just tell you. At levels 4, 8 and 12, on the multiples of 4, you get to choose either a feat or an ability score increase. So let's say you pick the ability score increase at level 4. So you can increase either 2 abilities with add +1 to both of them, or add +2 to a single ability. So normally people tend to keep their ability scores even, because if you don't, here he has 15 health, right? I just get it to 15, it's 14. Because it's not even, it's not a multiple of 2, so it will lose the modifier, right? But there can also be a benefit to that if you think in the long term a little bit. So you can, let's say, keep 2 ability scores at odd numbers, and then when you get an ASI, you can just get them both to an even number, right? But you will have to stay at somewhat of a disadvantage till you get to level 4. That is one thing to keep in mind. And what else could there be? I mean, perhaps I have forgotten something, because I am not really reading from a script right now. I'm just going with the flow. And yeah, if you want me to, if you watch this guide and it's helpful, hopefully it is helpful, you write in the comments if you want help regarding some other aspect of the game, or even D&D. Like, if you want me to make a guide regarding some certain thing or a certain class, that's fine. And I would appreciate it if you can like and subscribe, because it is definitely motivating to know that I am not just speaking into the void, that there are actually people listening, I guess. So yeah, that would be it for this video, and hopefully you find it helpful.